Chosen ones. Listen closely, for the coordinates of your reality are shifting beneath your feet. Today, Venus crosses the threshold into Pisces. You may not perceive it yet, but this ingress is a definitive pivot point for the collective. Venus in Pisces does not merely change your mood, it reveals the blueprints of a life-altering transformation you likely did not see coming. These indicators are already manifesting in your peripheral vision, yet they are easily dismissed by the unawakened as mere coincidence. The most persistent signal has been standing directly in your line of sight. When the universe repeats a number, a phrase, a symbol, or a specific situation, it is not a routine occurrence. It is a systems sync. Before a high-magnitude shift like Venus entering Pisces, the mechanism of repetition becomes impossible for the attuned mind to ignore. Structural redundancy. You encounter the same word 3 times in a single cycle. You hear the same specific conversation through different conduits. Tightened focus. Repetition is the cosmic grid sharpening its resolution, pointing you directly toward the foundation of your next chapter. Clarity over volume. In this window, the universe does not speak louder. It speaks with a surgical, intentional clarity. Understand this. Precision is the hallmark of the architect. The too intentional feeling you are experiencing is the proof of your alignment. If the same signs have been circling your field of awareness lately, there is a technical reason for their appearance right before this ingress. The universe is no longer negotiating with your uncertainty. It is providing you with the repetitive data required to confirm your next move. The signs are the coordinates. The repetition is the lock. The ingress is complete. The frequency is shifting from the material to the ethereal, and the signs you've ignored are now demanding a response. Do not look for grand gestures. Look for the patterns that refuse to disappear. The threshold is crossed. The signals are locked. Your next chapter is already in motion. Chosen ones, listen with your heart, for we are moving beyond the realm of repetitive struggle and into the sacred frequency of the soft shift. While the masses are addicted to chaos and trauma bonding, you are beginning to witness the first layer of a profound transition. As Venus prepares to enter the ethereal waters of Pisces, life is becoming strangely, almost invisibly, softer. This is the universe testing the waters of your new reality with subtle upgrades. Not dramatic miracles yet, but gentle improvements that feel too perfectly timed to be mere coincidence. Have you noticed? A better deal found at the last second. Your day flowing with an unexpected smoothness. Tiny moments of comfort appearing exactly when your soul needs them most. These are not random acts of luck. This is the Venusian signal of expansion through ease. Where other planets shatter doors to let light in, Venus opens the space without breaking anything at all. The reality upgrade. You are being nudged with a simple, divine message. The quality of your life is rising before the circumstances have even caught up. Pisces expands whatever Venus touches, but it does so quietly. It doesn't crash into your life, it elevates it. If your environment has recently felt more graceful, one small luxury, one better conversation, one moment of better timing at a time, understand that this is the divine alignment preparing you for a monumental leap. But these outer shifts are merely the precursor to a deeper, more radical transformation of your relational instincts. As this transit takes hold, your intuition is sharpening into a lethal tool of recognition. You are suddenly gravitating towards souls who feel like an exhale after holding your breath for a lifetime. You are being pulled toward people who are calm, grounded, and emotionally steady. The great mismatch. At the same time, your tolerance for the Matrix drama has dropped to zero. What once felt exciting now feels exhausting. What once felt magnetic now feels profoundly mismatched. This is not a choice, it is a vibrational repulsion. Venus in Pisces heightens your ability to feel instantly, who nourishes your spirit and who drains your divine essence. Connections that feel safe and steady are now standing out like lighthouses in the dark. The universe is redirecting you toward the people who belong in your future, not the ghosts of your past. Your heart is recognizing your true tribe before your mind can even process the change. Stability has become your new attraction. Peace is now non-negotiable. Before the soft shift hardens into your new reality, you must anchor your frequency. Like this video now to signal to the universe that you accept this path of ease and elegance. Subscribe the holy days and turn on the bell. In the shifting tides of Pisces, this frequency is your anchor in the storm. In the comments below, type, "I choose peace," to lock in your alignment with this new, softer reality. If this transmission has served as a mirror for the shifts you are feeling, you can support me with a cup of coffee, because every seed you release becomes a river that reaches souls you may never meet. The donation link is waiting for you in the description and shown as a QR code in this video. Your support is a powerful energetic exchange, confirming your readiness to receive the abundance of Venus. I bless what you give, and I multiply it with purpose. Act now, and let your obedience speak louder than delay. The compass of comfort is pointing the way. Trust your heart's recognition. The reality of struggle is over. The era of grace has begun. Another major sign of this imminent Venusian shift is the palpable, almost sudden evaporation of competitive tension in your immediate sphere. At first, it feels like a subtle hush, an atmospheric softening that is easy to miss if you aren't looking for it. You begin to notice significantly fewer ego-driven clashes, fewer exhausting power struggles, and fewer instances where someone feels the desperate, cloying need to assert dominance or prove their worth. Even those thorny conversations that used to predictably spiral into jagged drama seem to lose their bite and their sting. It is as if the sharp, abrasive corners of your environment are being sanded down by an invisible hand, as if life itself is losing its appetite for conflict. This occurs because Venus, entering the ethereal realm of Pisces, acts like a spiritual solvent, dissolving the aggressive undercurrents that traditionally fuel rivalry. It dampens the primal impulse to outdo others and replaces it with a magnetic pull toward genuine, soulful connection. People stop obsessing over winning and start prioritizing mutual understanding. Even the most defensive, reactive, or territorial individuals in your orbit might suddenly feel easier to navigate, or perhaps they simply become far less influential in the architecture of your internal, emotional world. This shift is a powerful herald of what lies ahead for you. When the universe prepares you for a season of expansion, its first act is often to extract you from environments that hemorrhage your vitality through needless, draining battles. This transition isn't about surrendering or becoming passive. It's about the profound realization that authentic growth cannot flourish while you are stuck in survival mode. Growth requires the luxury of space and the stillness of peace. The sudden absence of friction is the primary signal that this space is finally opening up for you. You may even find that your own internal hunger for competition is beginning to flicker and fade. Achievements you once felt driven to chase, or points you once felt a burning need to prove, no longer carry the same weight or meaning they once did. This is because your internal compass is recalibrating ahead of the Venus transit, preparing your energy to be used for creation rather than defense. When the fight drains out of your surroundings, it signifies that your future no longer requires you to stand guard or brace yourself in order to receive your blessings. This reduction in the noise of rivalry isn't some random fluke. It's a cosmic memo that your next chapter won't demand survival instincts. It will demand radical openness and vulnerability. Once your energy stops bracing for a phantom battle, a deeper transformation begins to take root. The frantic urge to force outcomes, to bend reality to your will, finally starts to crumble. Just before a major Venusian shift, many people experience a peculiar, soul-deep exhaustion regarding the act of making things happen. You might push for clarity, only to find the fog thickening. You might try to micromanage a situation, only to find that nothing responds to your touch the way you expect. You try to plan every minute detail, and the universe immediately scrambles the script. It isn't failure, it is a divine redirection. This phase isn't a lapse into laziness or a loss of motivation. It's a profound recalibration of your frequency. The things you used to muscle through now feel leaden and heavy. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because those methods no longer align with where you are headed. Forcing has stopped working because the timeline you are stepping into isn't built on the foundation of pressure. It is built on the foundation of flow. Venus in Pisces amplifies this shift dramatically, rewarding what feels natural, effortless, and emotionally resonant, while resisting anything born of urgency, fear, or scarcity. If you push right now, you'll likely feel an immediate, jarring block. But when you soften into alignment, you'll feel an unmistakable sense of being guided by a larger hand. It is the visceral difference between exhausting yourself swimming against a violent upstream current and finally flipping onto your back to let the water carry you forward. This is why so many feel an odd sense of relief, even while their external circumstances remain uncertain. The white-knuckled grip on control is loosening. The neurotic need to micromanage every moving part is dissolving. You are beginning to trust that what is divinely intended for you doesn't need to be hunted down or dragged into your life. It simply needs to be recognized. When the pushing stops working, it isn't a setback. It's the universe telling you that the next door opens through ease, not effort. This no more forcing phase is the final indicator that a new reality is approaching. Once you stop trying to bend your current reality, you finally become available for the reality that has been trying to reach you all along. A telltale sign that Venus is on the threshold of Pisces is the quiet, unmistakable sensation that something massive in your life is gearing up to begin. It isn't a cinematic or dramatic feeling, and it isn't necessarily tied to any specific event you can point to. It's more of an internal, atmospheric shift, the feeling of standing in the wings of a theater before the curtain rises, knowing the sets are being changed behind the velvet, even if you can't see the movement yet. This anticipation isn't rooted in anxiety or fear. It's the physical sensation of alignment forming ahead of you. Many describe it as a subtle quickening in the chest, a soft pressure behind their decisions, or a burgeoning awareness that their current life is a skin they are about to shed. Even if the external world looks identical to yesterday, The emotional frequency of your life feels like it is prepping for a fresh start. Venus doesn't just change how you feel, it changes your entire experience of what life can feel like. This sense of anticipation occurs when one emotional era is being archived, so another can begin. If you have felt like the last few months were stagnant, repetitive, or heavy, that density often shatters right before the transit. The universe creates a kind of emotional vacuum, a deliberate pause, so the new cycle has the oxygen it needs to rise. This is why you might suddenly feel a surge of hope without knowing why, or a restless energy that feels like preparation rather than frustration. People often get confused here, assuming nothing is happening because the scenery hasn't changed. But internally, your emotional architecture is being completely rearranged. Things that used to satisfy you no longer fulfill you. What once felt like a chaotic mess now feels like it's finally making sense. This isn't a coincidence. It is your spirit picking up on the shift before Venus makes it visible. Your intuition always colonizes the next chapter before your physical life catches up. Once this anticipation is activated, the universe begins a rigorous clearing process, brushing away anything that cannot follow you into the next phase. This is when disruption shows up in its most revealing and sometimes uncomfortable forms. As the Venus shift approaches, the structures of your life that once felt like solid ground may suddenly feel unstable, ineffective, or jarringly misaligned. It could be a daily routine that no longer provides satisfaction, a relationship dynamic that feels incompatible, a job that drains your spirit more than it feeds you, or a familiar environment that suddenly feels too small for the person you are becoming. This isn't a cosmic punishment, it's a necessary transition. Venus in Pisces has a surgical way of exposing what has quietly expired in your life, the habits, connections, and patterns that can no longer sustain your emotional evolution. Things that used to flow effortlessly may now feel clunky. Daily tasks might feel out of rhythm, as if the universe is nudging you off autopilot and forcing you into conscious choice. These disruptions are not meant to overwhelm you. They are meant to reveal what isn't coming with you into the next chapter. Many misread this phase as regression or instability, but in truth, it is the earliest form of liberation. You are outgrowing the structures of your life before you are even fully aware that you've become too big for them. Because of this, life begins to grease the wheels of your departure by making the familiar much harder to cling to. Routines lose their spark. Draining social obligations become unbearable. Environments that felt comfortable become suffocating. Suddenly, you realize that the version of you who built those things is no longer the version of you that Venus is leading you toward. Life stops working the moment you are no longer meant to fit inside the old mold. This disruption is the necessary friction required to break open the space for new emotional possibilities. As the shift nears, your awareness begins to change in a very particular way. You start paying attention with a different quality of mind, not obsessive, not anxious, and without that frantic urge to dissect every minor detail. Your perception widens and softens at the same time. You notice patterns without the desperate need to explain them away. You observe coincidences without assuming they are dire warnings. This shift marks the moment your intuition matures from being reactive to being truly receptive. Earlier in your journey, every repeating number felt like an emergency or a code to be cracked. Every emotional wave felt like a spiritual assignment you had to decode immediately. Now, there is a deep, quiet calm beneath the noticing. You're not chasing meaning, you are allowing it to land.
When this happens,
Life feels more spacious. The things that truly matter rise to the surface, while the trivialities fade into the background without any effort on your part. You might see the same symbol 3 times in a day, but instead of spiraling into analysis, you simply acknowledge it and move on. Strangely, by doing less, you actually understand more. The insights hit harder and land more clearly because you're not cluttering your intuition with mental noise. This stage teaches you a rare spiritual skill, letting things be without immediately forcing them into a storyline. You start recognizing the difference between a signal and mere static. The ideas and opportunities that return repeatedly hold weight. The things that appear once and vanish are just environmental noise. This is how the universe trains you to trust your discernment. You stop trying to figure out life and start listening to it instead. You become more selective with your attention, and that selectivity becomes a form of spiritual power. Finally, there is a very specific type of emotional exhaustion that manifests just before Venus enters Pisces. It catches people off guard because it doesn't feel like traditional burnout or stress. It feels like your soul is quietly packing its bags and stepping away from versions of yourself that you can no longer sustain. It's the fatigue that arrives when pretending becomes a literal impossibility. You might notice that the enthusiasm you used to manufacture simply won't summon itself. Conversations you once navigated effortlessly now feel heavy or entirely unnecessary. You try to hype yourself up for something that used to excite you, and you feel nothing. You realize halfway through a sentence that your heart isn't in it. Even old arguments no longer have the power to ignite you. You cannot fight in circles anymore, not because the issue went away, but because your spirit refuses to participate in cycles that drain more than they give.
this isn't a collapse.
It is a sacred release. Your emotional system is pulling its energy back from roles you've outgrown. The strong one, the fixer, the caretaker, the peacekeeper. All of these identities have become too tight to wear. Your soul is asking you to stop performing and start existing in a way that feels raw and real. This exhaustion is your body and spirit finally syncing up. If you are still watching, I want to thank you. If any part of this message landed for you, then you are already aligning with the new chapter. You don't need to predict it, control it, or pressure yourself into being ready. This shift meets you exactly where you are. As today unfolds, let yourself soften. Let life surprise you. Let the ease come in without questioning if you deserve it. Hope isn't something you chase. It's something that rises naturally when you stop fighting your own becoming. Whatever this next chapter brings, may it find you with gentleness, clarity, and a heart that feels just a little lighter than it did today.